Welcome to TotV Live. It is Valhalla time. Or actually, okay, I'm getting my YouTube channels mixed up. Let me try that again. Welcome to TotV Live. It is time in which we enter into the void. I know I'm going to get those mixed up every once in a while. Hello everybody, welcome to the TotV live stream, Tales of the Void, where we talk about all things Source, TimeStrike, and anything in between from the Source terrain system. Hi, I am Ryan, or aka Tales of the Void, or you can call me Tails if you so choose. I have spent last two Wednesdays going through the TimeStrike Rulebook. Had a fun time reading through this thing. We're like what 40 plus pages of this particular game that is not currently out yet officially. We still got a couple months, but this rulebook did drop online through the Discord, and links in the description below if you want to find out anything when it comes to Source, TimeStrike, Adventure Together games. All the information is linked in the description below if you want to check everything out there. And we are going to continue reading through these rule sets. I think we were on, let's see here, we are on skills, I believe, here on the pages. So, and I'm going to like on the attack thing there, and we're going to get started in a second. Just get myself settled in here. Eventually, on this YouTube channel, we're just getting started really, and I'm kind of doing these live streams on Wednesdays, and when we're finished, we're going to finish wrapping up reading through this rulebook tonight, and then the next Wednesday or two I might not stream on here. I might go back to my other YouTube channel, which is Tales of Valhalla, where we go into Heroescape. I do stop motion animations of Heroescape as well as a podcast on that. Eventually I'm going to do that same type of stuff for TimeStrike Source and such, but right now just getting started very slowly on this channel. And but appreciate any likes, subscriptions, any comments. Always appreciate those as we start building this. Not just building this channel, but building this part of pop culture, which is starting to rise. The Source TimeStrike. I mean, this is just getting started, basically on the ground floor. So we'll see how big this community grows, how big this game, this system grows. Lots to look forward to for that. But anyway. Tonight we're going to be going through again TimeStrike, which is kind of like a mixture of a skirmish game, similar to Heroescape, but not quite. There's a lot more rules to it, and that's why hence the 40-some page rulebook. So how about we continue reading? So here we are. We're on page 31, going through these passive skills now, talking about the attack skills. So let's read through that. We've got, what, 10 pages to go? I think 10 pages to go. So let's do it. All right, wait a minute. Let me take a drink first. Let me take a drink. My throat's already getting dry. I haven't even started reading yet. All right. Let's go. Let's read through this. All right, attack. Attack skills can be used when a character performs an attack. Only one attack skill can be used during each attack. That's interesting. So you can't like pile on. Attack. Yeah, okay, so that's an attack. Example, defense. Defense skills can be used when a character defends against an attack. Only one defense skill can be used during each attack. Interesting. Luck. Luck is a mechanic that allows characters to trigger special effects when rolling combat dice. On the combat dice, you'll notice one gold-colored lucky attack icon called a lucky hit, and one gold-colored lucky defense icon called a lucky block. Skills in other scenarios may require a certain amount of lucky attack or defense icons to be rolled to trigger different effects or actions. Now this is a particular mechanic that the last few times I've played TimeStrike really wasn't included, so this is something kind of new to me. I play tested TimeStrike just a game or two, but this is something new, so that's interesting. How to use luck. When rolling combat dice, check the character's skills or trials to see if any have lucky hit or lucky block triggers. If you roll the required number of lucky attack or defense icons, trigger the skill's effect or complete the trial. So, I mean, this is just for very, very special occasions, because the chances of getting what you need for, of course, that's why it's luck. But I'm sure if like you calculate the numbers, it's kind of probably slim chances getting it, but it's there. You know, it's an extra mechanic and it seems fun. Inventory. This section describes the different types of loot and how characters can carry loot in their inventories. Each character on a team has its own unlimited individual inventory. When a character performs an action which results in the drawing of a card or collection of a material, that loot is placed into a character's inventory. So we also need, that's like the last 2 live streams ago I was talking about when it came to the edge part of the source terrain tile system. There's little knobs that you can either put 20-sided die in, or it could be you can have attachable trays eventually with it. And my idea was having, you know, a tray that can hold your character board, all the extra cards, you know, that you can select. But with the character board, you should have space to like have your fish, your loot as well. So this got to be kind of a whopping big tray. I got to really like talk with the Venture Together game guys about this to really finalize that idea, because I want my ideas to come to fruition here. All right. So note, units who belong to the same multi-unit character all share the same inventory with one another. To transfer loot between characters, you use a trade action. Okay. Recommendation. We recommend placing loot cards slightly under the character board to indicate they are associated with that character. Ba-bum. And stacking the material gathered on top, right here, of the character artwork. If they have an artifact equipped, you can slot it under the right side and push the artwork under the character board. Boom, boom. Okay. It's right there. So there's your example. Loot. Loot describes anything that can be carried in a character's inventory. Fish, materials, artifacts, and items all fall under the loot category. And I think last time I was talking about like having a fish expansion pack to where, you know, you could just have a game to where you're just fishing, and then you could have like special cards, you know, that indicate a special kind of fish. I don't know, you could have fun with it. But you could also like do expansions for materials, artifacts, items to really have fun with the game and just have, you know, different mix and pizzazz. What would those different cards be? You know, what would those additional cards be or additional packs be? I have no idea. But that would be fun to eventually add them on. I know the game hasn't even out yet, so this is definitely future stuff. But yeah, I foresee expansion packs in the future. Okay. Let's see here. For instance, a character could eat a fish, use an item, and spend a material to build or craft during their turn without spending any energy. Whenever a loot card is discarded, it is placed back at the bottom of the appropriate draw pile. So that gives you an idea of the loot. Now, items. Item cards are single use and trigger special mechanics that can be exceptions to the default rules of the game. Items can be helpful for combat, moving, modifying actions, and more. This is one thing that HeroScape really doesn't have, all these additional cards to use. Everything is usually on one game card. Excuse me. Items can only be used during the turn of the unit that holds them. However, some items have specific conditions that allow their use outside of the unit's turn. When a character deals damage to a lost unit or a player unit in skirmish mode as the result of an attack or skill, it draws one item card and places it in their inventory. And I think these are the different cards. So fish are my favorite. Fish cards are single use and assist primarily by helping units regain health, cleanses curses, and gain buffs. Fish can only be consumed during the turn of the unit that holds them. Characters can draw fish cards by successfully completing the fish action. That's one thing I love about this game is fish. Fish, what more do you need? Artifacts. Artifacts can be equipped to survivor characters and provide additional skills, stats, or effects. A survivor can only have one artifact equipped at a time, so that's interesting. Skills, stats, and other effects from artifacts are only active when they are equipped. Survivors can draw artifacts by either fully awakening themselves in the boss battle royale and skirmish modes, or by pushing the sentience through phases in the boss raid mode. There's an artifact card, Hod's fishing rod. Interesting. So it probably helps you with fishing. On the left side of the artifact card is the name and depiction of the artifact. On the right side there are 3 sections. First, a new skill that the character acquires. Next is additional stats that are added to the character. Lastly, at the right bottom of the artifact is a unique effect that only works if it is equipped by the specific character in which the artifact originates from. And if you hear some noise in the background, that's my cat. One of my cats cleaning himself. Okay. Next, when a survivor receives an artifact card, they can immediately equip it, so automatically. If they receive an artifact card while having one already equipped, they can either swap it or place it in the inventory as an unequipped artifact which has no effect. At the start of a survivor's turn, a player may choose to swap their equipped artifact with an unequipped artifact. Equipping an artifact is not considered an action and does not cost any energy. Units may trade artifacts even when they are equipped. Interesting. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, so that just goes... So say if you have an artifact that helps in offense, you can use it while you're playing your turn. And then if you need something with defense or to switch it right away, you can do that even when someone's taking a turn. So that's interesting. I don't know if I like that. I don't know. At least that's how I'm gathering. That's how that's said. I mean, I suppose it helps you as the player, but I really think if you have these cards, you should try to anticipate what your opponent's going to do, and do that type of action before saying to your opponent it's your turn while it's still on your turn, but it has to be at the start of a survivor's turn. Okay. So not during the survivor's turn, it has to be at the beginning when they say, okay, I'm going to start my turn. It's like, wait a second, I'm going to decide whether or not I'm going to switch an artifact card. Okay, I'm going to switch it, but not while they're going through their turn. So that kind of makes sense. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Building and crafting. During the game, characters can use the materials they have mined to build structures or craft single-use gadgets that enhance specific actions. Building and crafting are not considered actions and therefore do not require the use of energy to perform and can only be done by survivors. It's interesting. Okay, there you go. Building. Building allows survivors to use materials to place additional hexes or structures onto the map during their turn. A unit cannot build while engaged with an enemy. So there's a caveat to that. So you cannot be engaged to an enemy. But besides that, you can build, and it doesn't require an action turn. You can just do it. Oh, look, and there's a structure right there. Walls. Walls can be built during the game to provide cover or block passages. Number 1, to build a wall, the active survivor unit must play one material from their inventory. Discard the material. So you gotta have a specific material. Take a wall from the common supply. Place the wall in any unoccupied basic land hexes with at least one hex adjacent to the active unit, or on top of another wall. Hey, Chris, how you doing, sir? CR Torres there in the chat, or otherwise known as Chris, or Shaper. You can call him Shaper too. I'm just wrapping up, sir. Reading through the last 10 pages or so of the TimeStrike Rulebook tonight, trying to get through this. This is my third stream reading through this book, so we're getting there. But we're going through walls right now. On top of another wall with at least one hex. Okay, I'll just reread it. Place the wall on any unoccupied basic land hexes with at least one hex adjacent to the active unit, or on top of another wall with at least one hex adjacent to the active unit. Okay, roads. And actually, and Chris, if you're listening, I don't know if you listened to the last few live streams I did on here, but I had ideas for like a fish expansion pack to where like it's just different types of fish and maybe like special fish. Like one fish is like a golden fish to where it's just one of a kind, and might have like a golden border or something, or a silver fish, and they're just like have some type of big magical power. But I think one of the ideas had was because you're thinking of like dice trays to attach to the edges pieces, and I think it was I think it was Anthony who I was talking to a couple of streams ago, to where I'm like, well, why don't you come up with trays that have space, like a huge space where you can put your game card, you can put the other cards to draw from, so they're not like specifically on the table. You can have, because I mean there's different knobs on these edge pieces, so you can potentially create trays that can hold all your game pieces. Just have them big or small enough to do that. Even one for your game card, one for separate, for packs, and anything you can think of really. Whatever your materials are, you could have like a tray that holds the miniatures as well. So basically, it takes the clutter off your table. So yeah, that was just the thoughts. Some of the thoughts I had. I know I had one or two other ideas too. I have to go back through those streams. Eventually, I might like pitch a proposal or something, maybe sometime down the line. But yeah, that was that first stream. That was a productive stream. I was throwing out ideas there. Let's see here. Chris is saying, I love it. Fishing needs some expansions. I'm looking forward to releasing all the files for edges, including an attachment we design for the slot, so anyone can design attachments. There you go. Yeah, them edges, like I said, I'll say it, I'll keep on saying those things are revolutionary. And I'll say this too. I know eventually on these streams I'll have to review, because I mean I have some source terrain. And obviously I've used it. Actually, my son has used it more than me. And I mean, some of the stuff he's built with just a limited amount of source terrains. It's really interesting what he's been able to design with just the limited stuff he has. But when we end up getting a bunch here finally, I mean, I want to do like an in-depth live review of that, comparing them to like other terrain tiles I have here, Escape and others. But I'm really impressed with this stuff. Like I mean, it's not just the edges. I mean, this terrain stuff is really, really good. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's the best yet, but in my limited opinion, it looks to be like it's going to be the best terrain stuff you could get on the market, and when it gets out in the market. Hey, you didn't cut any corners. Yeah, I get it. I mean, the more I use it, the more impressed I am with it. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna actually clap my hands so I can edit it out, because eventually I'm gonna combine these 3 streams into one stream where I'm reading through the whole, whatever, however long that video is going to be, but I'm going to make it all into one video. But I want to cut out some of these times when I'm talking and not reading. I don't mind conversing, but I just want to make sure I can do an edit on it. Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's continue reading. Roads. Where we're going, we definitely need roads. Okay. Roads can be built during the game to help gain height or move characters around more quickly. And one move across any length of road, which is just insane. To build roads, an active survivor unit must be standing on a land or road hex and pay 1 material. Then take 3 road hexes from the common supply. Excuse me. If the unit building the road is not already standing on a road hex, the first road hex must be placed beneath that unit. From there, place the remaining road hexes on any unoccupied hexes adjacent to any other road hexes belonging to the road the unit is standing on. Roads can be built adjacent to each other regardless of the height difference. Right. And I don't think it matters what height difference it is. You go up as long as you're adjacent to it. But wait, so now for this action though, for one material, okay, so for each material you have, that's 3 road hexes. So if you only have one material, you only can use 3 road hexes. But say if you would have like 3 materials, would that mean that you could just turn in 3 materials and then get 9 road hexes to lay down? I'm thinking that would be the case. I don't know if you could do that all in one turn, but I'm guessing that's the case. Let's see here. Roads cannot be built on top of other roads or on tiles. Okay. Roads cannot be built adjacent to each other if the adjacent hex is an overhang. Roads adjacent to each other that are separated by an overhang are also not considered connected. And see here, Chris said 9 roads. Bam. Okay, yep. So that's the case. All right. Crafting. Crafting allows survivors to use materials to assist with actions or other activities. Hang glider. Hang glider. Okay, this is something new. When a survivor unit would roll for falling damage, they may spend 1 material to craft a hang glider and a Nori falling damage. Okay, I don't know if you guys had that rule before, but that I find that interesting. There's no like object or anything that indicates a hang glider. You just you just say hang glider and then they just glide down. Okay, as long as they have a material. That's interesting. Fishing net. Before performing a fish action, this makes sense. A survivor unit may spend 1 material to craft a fishing net, which guarantees success on that fish action. Monster trap. Before performing a tame monster action, a survivor unit may spend 1 material to craft a monster trap. We need to have a monster trap glyph, though. That would be cool. Which will prevent the monster from dealing damage back to the player if the tame monster action fails. Yeah, it would be cool just to have some type of... It could even be like a glyph shape that's just like flat, almost like a HeroScape glyph, you know, like thin, but it has it says monster trap, so you can put it on top of the monster so you know that particular monster is like in that trap. Just saying. The Lost. The Lost is a term used for the AI in TimeStrike for the boss battle royale and the boss raid game modes. The sentients, mobs, and untamed monsters are all considered part of the Lost. Lost to time, these prior inhabitants of the void will do everything in their power to ensure that no one survives to leave the void. I gotta reread that again. First, I'm just checking the quality of my stream real quick. I think that it's going to take a second read. Lost to time, these prior inhabitants of the void will do everything in their power to ensure that no one survives to leave the void. So basically, all the residents of the void, all the people, all the residents that belong to the void are making sure you don't leave. That's an interesting bit of lore that's just tied in there. The Lost will be spawned in and controlled by the Sentience deck. Players can target and attack the Lost in the same way they would target units belonging to another player. Lost stats. Yeah, Chris says just the monsters. Right, I got you. No, yeah, I understood that. When determining an interaction with a Lost unit, not necessarily everyone. Okay. It's more like a guideline than actual rules, is what you're saying. When determining an interaction with a Lost unit, refer to the Sentience stats card that shows Lost stats. The stats for move, range, attack, defense work differently for the Lost than the player-controlled units. So Lost move, yeah, Lost move. When moving a Lost unit, ignore water, climbing, movement penalties. Oh, ignoring water. Okay. When moving a Lost unit, ignore water and climbing movement penalties. They cannot move through enemy units or friendly units that are engaged with enemies. They cannot move through walls or other structures. Also, the Lost cannot be cheap shot during their movement. Okay. Lost range. This stat determines the maximum range from which any Lost unit may target a player unit when attacking. The Lost do not roll for attack. The Lost attack stat instead indicates the number of hits that the Lost automatically inflict when attacking. The defending unit will still roll for defense. Lost defense. The Lost do not roll for defense. The Lost defense stat instead indicates the number of hits that the Lost automatically block when defending. Lost health. The total health for Lost monsters can be referenced from the character board or card. The total health for the Sentience is listed at the bottom of the Sentience stats card and scale per survivor unit that starts in play. Lost targeting. Lost units. So what's our example for a Lost unit? Let's see here. Okay. And so this is for boss battle royale, boss raid game. Okay, so yeah, Sentience, mobs, untamed. So like fear and others like it, basically. the big monsters. Okay. Lost units will be required to target player units based on parameters like distance or different statuses. Note: the Lost cannot target units climbing the Sentience. Okay. For distance from the position of the Lost unit, count the number of hexes that the Lost unit would need to move to become engaged or get closest possible to the target unit. Note: Lost units cannot move through enemy units or structures, which must be considered when measuring distance. Tiebreakers. There may be moments where units are equally targetable by the Lost. Follow the steps below to determine who is the main target. First tiebreaker. When the target with the lowest defense. Okay. Second tiebreaker. The target with the lowest current health. Final tiebreaker. If the target is still unclear, players will roll d20s for each unit to determine which unit will be targeted. The Lost unit will then attack the unit with the lowest roll. So there's no loopholes here. Spawning the Lost. Sentience cards and other effects may spawn monsters and Sentience mobs during gameplay. You know, it would be fun eventually, years down the road when we have like we have fear, and then we're gonna have other big baddies like fear. It's gonna be fun when you can have just a huge game board and have like 5 of these different big monsters, and say you have like 10 of them to actually like pick from, but you got 5 of them just crawling everywhere on the board. Yo, yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. That would take all night, mind you, but that would still be fun. Okay. Let me reread what it was saying here. Yeah, Chris is saying yes. Yeah. Sentience cards and other effects may spawn monsters or sentience mobs during gameplay. If a target or position is indicated by the card, place the spawn unit there. If the position where the unit would be placed is occupied, place it on the highest unoccupied hex adjacent to the original hex. If there are multiple such hexes, the owner of the unit occupying the original hex may decide which of the possible hexes the lost unit will be spawned on. If a lost unit is spawned next to a player unit, place it on the highest unoccupied hex adjacent to the player unit. If there are multiple such hexes, the owner of the player unit may decide which of the possible hexes the lost unit will be spawned on. Note: when spawning a unit into an engaged position, this immediately triggers engagement. Tiny note. Okay, lost movement. And see here, Chris is saying, I talk about this all the time. Some groups would get wiped out. Some would emerge stronger, then attack the other groups. Yeah. Yeah, that just, it would be like what you guys have been kind of saying about the lore in the past, that everything's like really dark and very, very dramatic type of scenario of the void here. Lost movement. When a lost unit has acquired a target, the lost unit will then move towards that unit. Lost units will move as close as possible to be engaged with their target. If the target cannot be engaged, the lost unit will then move toward the nearest hex from which it can attack the target. If the lost unit cannot reach a hex from which it could attack the unit, it will spend all its movement attempting to get as close as possible to that hex. If there are multiple such hexes, the lost will move toward the higher hex. If there are multiple such hexes, the owner of the targeted unit may decide. Okay, I'll take a drink real quick. Continue. We're almost done, folks. We're almost done. Combat with the lost. Attacking the lost. The lost do not roll for defense when being attacked. Instead, refer to the sentient stats card listed lost defense value. This shows the number of blocks a player unit must surpass when attacking to inflict damage. Interesting. When a character deals damage to a lost unit as a result of an attack or skill, it draws one item card and places it in their inventory. Then for monsters, place their damage markers on their character board or card. For the sentience, place it at the bottom of sentient stats card. Being attacked by the lost. The lost units do not roll for attack when attacking players. Instead, refer to the sentient stats card listed lost attack value. The attacked unit still rolls for defense to block these hits. Sentience. The sentience is a massive world boss whose goal is to defeat all teams. Kind of like a Cthulhu, you know? Just, I'm going to stomp you all now, and there, stomp the whole world flat, and be done with it. Speaking of which, we need a Cthulhu-type sentience sometime down the line, you know, just all tentacly, and I don't know what you call them, to make them not Cthulhu, because I think Cthulhu is kind of, how'd I put it, copyrighted, possibly, I don't know. But you know, we need that type of sentience just to come in and just totally just want to take over everything. Sentience action. When the round ends, after all the player characters have become exhausted, draw a card from the sentience action deck. Follow the instructions on the card to play out the sentience turn. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Oh, hey there, Anthony. How you doing? We got plenty of ideas for sentiences. Don't worry. Or you're saying is don't let me think about it too much right now, because actually I have starting to get things popping in my head to where it's like, what if you create a sentience that's actually like really small, but then becomes like somehow expands and becomes huge, or you know what I'm saying. Okay, Chris is saying Cthulhu himself is very much in the public domain. Okay, good. As is the majority of Lovecraft's fiction. Shout out to Lovecraft. Cthulhu, as I tell you. On the Sentience action card, there will be a list of steps to walk players through the turn of the Sentience. After completing each step, the Sentience turn is over and the players can start the next round. When survivor counts are referenced, it's usually based on the initial number of survivors in the game, but may state otherwise. Now, I mean, and some of y'all might be thinking when we're going through, like reading through this rule book, and thinking, like, this is a lot of pages to read. And for me, like personally, considering I play HeroScape a lot, and it's usually pretty simple, even though the rule book is fairly, you know, kind of long in HeroScape, but this is definitely a lot more pages to read. You have to understand something though. This is explaining 3 versions of how to play the game in one rule book. So this is why there's a lot of detail in here, because we're talking about 3 different modes of how to play this game. So just keep that in mind when you're reading it. Try not to wear yourself out. This is what I'm keeping in mind when I'm reading it. Let's see here. Anthony saying modular sentience. Everything else we have is modular, so it makes sense. Okay, sentience movement. The sentience can be moved to a position already occupied by other units or buildings if the center hex, 1, of the sentience base is not occupied by another unit. After the sentience is placed, it should face away from the hex from which it originated and towards its new direction. And Chris is saying, order of simplicity: 1 skirmish, 2 boss raid, 3 boss battle royale. Right? Yeah, you're telling me. Okay, this is something people can understand maybe a little bit. I was never diagnosed, but I have a slight dyslexia to where I can read something a million times and then forget it immediately. It takes me some time to remember things. So I'm reading. I'm actually, like, I know, like, all of you out there, like oh, asking Tony. Okay, no, that's fine. I'm speaking for myself personally here, though. I know a lot of you are saying, okay, this is a great resource for Ryan's making a great resource to, you know, eventually, you know, compile this all in a video, so people can eventually read through all this and, you know, have an audio version of this, and I'm happy to do it. But this is also mostly for me too, to listen to when I need to understand things better in the future. Anyway, all right, let me continue this. Okay, let me go through this again. Sentience movement. The sentience can be moved to a position already occupied by other units or buildings if the center hex, 1, of the sentience base is not occupied by another unit. After the sentience is placed, it should face away from the hex from which it originated and towards its new direction. Boom, because these things are big, they're massive. When there are walls, uneven ground units, or other impediments, proceed as follows. Each unit will be pushed away from the sentience, starting with a sentience front hex and continuing clockwise. If the specified positions are occupied, the players who own the units can choose the next closest hex. For the lost units, the player moving the sentience can decide their positions. If the sentience is placed on a wall, it is destroyed. Interesting. Now, why is that? Interesting. Okay, if the sentience is placed on uneven land hexes, remove the highest hex from under its base. Repeat this process until it rests on at least 5 hexes with the same height. So these sentiences can literally just, like, rip out the ground from underneath you and really change, like, the dynamics of the playing board, which is awesome. If the sentience is based on an overhang or bridge, the sentience can have a maximum 2 hexes hanging off the edge in midair. Otherwise, destroy the overhang or bridge and place the sentience on whichever hexes were directly below it. Oh, the wall is destroyed. Okay. Oh, okay. If the sentience is placed on a wall, it is destroyed. Okay. It itself being the wall. Gotcha. Okay. I think most people understand that. It went over my head because my brain. Okay. Just put it that way. Okay. The sentience movement rules. Okay, so basically, the sentience will just like a plow, just bowl over everything because massive monster. Okay. The sentience movement rules apply in all modes, whether the sentience is player controlled or not. Climbing the sentience. Climbing onto the sentience is a core part of the game and is extremely important for survival, power, and rewards. Units on the sentience cannot be targeted by any friendly or enemy units not on the sentience. This includes any action, skill, or item cards. Units on the sentience can also cannot target other units that are not on the sentience. Units on equal or adjacent tiers of the sentience are considered to be engaged with each other. Sentient shake. And I've experienced this before. Whenever a sentient shake is triggered, all units on the sentience will be knocked off. In turn order, each player will place their units on an unoccupied hex adjacent to the sentience. Sentience mobs. The sentience will have uniquely named units that were referred to as mobs. Mobs will be spawned onto the map throughout the game. Like this eye right here, an eye tentacle. Mobs also use the lost stats, same as the other monsters, but only have 1 health. These mobs will have special abilities and can increase the strength of the sentience, add obstacles, and trigger large-scale damage. In Shadow of Fear, the sentience mobs are tentacles. Ta-da! These tentacles will be spawned in as Fear continues taking turns. They can be attacked and destroyed. They cannot use the road mechanic. They have a height of 4 and 1 health. When a tentacle is defeated, remove the tentacle from the void and deal 1 damage to Fear. Oh, that's kind of cool. So if you destroy tentacles, you can do a thing of damage against Fear. Well, that helps. When playing Fear in the skirmish mode, be sure to grab the tentacle mob card. Okay, here, I'm gonna take a drink real quick. All right, monsters. This is where the fun begins, people. These are the 2 types of lost monsters in TimeStrike: beasts and brutes. Or should we say, these are the 2 types of lost monsters in TimeStrike so far. Is it possible sometime in the future that there might be more monster classifications? Maybe, possibly. I don't know. Maybe. And then just, I'm just saying. Beasts and brutes. Okay, these monsters are summoned throughout the game, slowly becoming an ever greater threat to the player's characters. Sentience cards will frequently cause monsters to attack non-lost units. Monsters can be attacked, tamed, or defeated. Taming. Taming is a mechanic used to capture and recruit lost monsters to a team. Lost beasts and lost brutes can be tamed by survivor units. Tame monsters can then be activated when taking a turn with the character that tamed them. Tame monsters use the stats on their character board rather than the lost stats. Note, Tame monster are no longer considered lost units. Tame monsters cannot be activated on the turn they are tamed. Okay. Gotcha. So you just got them. They're just hanging out. Tame beasts. There's my Moggy. That's a nice, interesting color. So are Moggies like their color or their natural color is more like a neon type, otherworldly type color? Inquiring minds want to know. It's an interesting take though on that. When a beast is tamed, its character card is placed next to the character board of the unit that tamed it. When taking a turn with a character that has tamed 1 or more beasts, it may also activate each beast the character has tamed. If a character that tamed 1 or more beasts is defeated, each tamed beast will revert to a lost unit controlled by the sentience. Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand that, Chris. They're void cats, and eventually, like these monkeys, you know, they can be all sorts of colors and sizes. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Well, I mean, and you know, eventually, I'm gonna request a big bunch of these guys because I have ideas on on how to animate a herd of these guys or whatever. We're gonna have so much fun in pre-production. Tame brutes. Tamed brutes. Look at that guy. Done and done. When a brute is tamed, the unit that tamed it is mounted on top of it. The two units are collectively called a behemoth. When taking a turn with a character that has tamed one or more brutes, you may also activate each brute the character has tamed. When activating a unit mounted on a brute, it may no longer use its movement stat, but still uses its own energy to perform actions. Look at that. That's a nice little bit of artwork right there. Interesting. So beasts, brutes, behemoths. But actually, now I was thinking something, Chris, when you said it can be all sorts of colors and sizes. So does that mean that sometime down the road we could have a Moggy that is rideable, that will have a mount on it that's big enough? That would be kind of fun. Okay, behemoths. When the survivor is mounted on the back of a tame brute, it is called a behemoth. As long as I'm pronouncing that right. Units mounted on tame brutes are considered to be engaged with that brute, and any other units engaged with the brute may count range and starting from any space the brute occupies. Units mounted on tame brutes cannot be targeted by enemies. Instead, only the brute can be targeted by enemies for attacks or other abilities. If a tame brute is targeted for an attack and receives any damage from the attack, the mounted unit must also roll defense against each hit from that attack. Okay, interesting. If a tame brute is defeated, the mounted unit is placed by its owner on any unoccupied hex that the brute previously occupied. Chris says, I cannot either confirm or deny that. Okay, you just said the answer. You just said the answer. The book. How did he know? Hey, I'm just making educated guesses here, and you have no idea where my imagination goes sometimes for these things. I might not be a terrific, how would I say, game designer or strategic game player, but when it comes to storytelling, I'm thinking 100 moves ahead, at least. So I'm just saying. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Wait, did I finish reading this? Okay, I'll just read it again. If a tame brute is defeated, the mounted unit is placed. Okay, I read that. If the mounted unit is defeated, the brute reverts to a lost unit controlled by the sentience. Interesting. Okay. So does that mean, like, say in the lore, like all these creatures, or is it the beasts or the brutes together? Now this is going into a little bit of lore, but brutes are controlled by the sentience. Are beasts controlled by the sentience too? Are they both controlled by the sentience? I don't know if it says that in here or not, but yeah, okay, yeah, it is controlled. So all are controlled by the sentience, basically, in a sense. Okay. I answer my own question, I guess. Okay. Boss Battle Royale rules. When playing the Boss Battle Royale, there are a few unique rules and win conditions. Win conditions. Be the last surviving team. Objective. Strategy. First eliminate the loss by defeating the sentience, then all enemy player teams. Victory. First player to achieve these conditions wins the game. Loss. If each player's team is defeated before the lost are defeated, then the lost wins. Interesting. Yeah, it's fun. It's like you're trying to wipe out all the AI baddies at the same time trying to wipe out your opponent's baddies and trying to stay alive for all of it. It's just crazy. Defeating the lost. Attacking fear or its tentacles to inflict damage to fear. Defeating or taming lost monsters will help keep fear from regenerating health. Once fear receives damage markers equal to or exceeding its total health, it is defeated. When all remaining tentacles and lost monsters are removed from then all remaining tentacles and lost monsters are removed from the void. Okay, well that's actually interesting. So for this particular scenario, once the sentience is defeated, all, not just the tentacles, but all the monsters go too. All of them are removed from the game field. What about if you're controlling any of them? The controlled ones too, or the ones you control you still have? The ones you've tamed, you still have. I'm thinking that's the case. At the bottom of Fear stat card is its health, which scales based upon the number of starting survivors in the void. As Fear takes damage, place markers on this card to track its current health. Yeah, all the lost are removed. Okay. And you keep the controlled. Okay, so that gives you incentive to want to tame as many as possible. After you defeat the sentience, then you have those. Okay. Additional lost rewards. You may gain additional rewards for defeating a lost unit. Defeating a monster will grant one item and unlock one awakening to the unit who defeated it. See, so there's advantages on taming monsters, but there's also advantages on defeating monsters, defeating monsters too. So you got to consider that. Defeating the sentience will grant 3 items and unlock all awakenings to the units who defeated it. That's a treasure trove. Determining initiative. The player who controls a unit occupying the highest tier on the sentience when a sentience card is drawn at the end of each round will have initiative and take first turn in the following round. Okay. If units are in equal tiers or if the sentience has been defeated, initiative is determined by a d20 roll among the tied units remaining players with the highest roller taking initiative. Myth. The myth mechanic, only in boss battle realm mode, allows players who have been defeated to continue to play and seek revenge on those who may have wronged them during the game. The player can only become a myth if their team is defeated before the sentience is. So, but if the sentience is destroyed, then you're done then. That's when you're basically done, I think. There are no limits to how many players can become myths. Once the myth is active, the sentience will shake off all units from all tiers of the sentience in turn order. Players can no longer tame monsters or climb the sentience. Oh, wow, interesting. Okay. Wow, that escalated quickly. The myth has control of the sentience every turn. Oh, wow. So I guess what we're saying is here, better strategy is in this mode, destroy the sentience first before destroying your opponent. Because if you destroy your opponent, then it can go very, very wrong for you. Oh, that's interesting. Monster changes upon myth activation. Monsters will not act as normal characters for the myth to control. Myths will take their turn during the normal round. Using the exhaustion system like the other remaining players, cheap shots, rolling for combat, buffs, curses, and skills. Wow, and the exhaustion system are all in effect. Monsters under control of a myth use the stats listed on their character board rather than the lost stats. You know, I'd be the type of player to where I'm just like, okay, kill me first, kill my guy so I can take control of the sentience. I mean, I eventually lose, but hey, you know, I'd wipe everyone else out too. But like, if I go down, all of you are going down with me. This also means that monsters will no longer move or attack when the sentience action card is drawn. How to play the myth role. The myth goal is to use the loss to keep any remaining players from winning. Exactly. Whenever a card from the Sentience deck is drawn, this will have control of the Sentience card. Revenge is a dish best served cold. When a card says to move a tentacle or fear, the myth may choose exactly where they move using the lost stats. When a card says to spawn a tentacle on a given target, the myth may instead choose that target. Skirmish rules. So you've just got a few pages left, guys. Skirmish rules. When playing skirmish, there are a few unique rules and win conditions. Win conditions. Objective, be the last surviving team. Strategy, defeat all enemy player teams. Victory, the first player to achieve these conditions wins the game. Items. When a character deals damage to an enemy unit as a result of an attacker's skill, it draws one item card and places it in their inventory. Determine initiative. At the end of each round, each team will roll d20s. The team with the highest roll will go first, with all other teams taking turns in clockwise order. Okay. Okay, so that's skirmish rules. So basically, this is about the closest thing to Hero Escape you're going to get in this, I think, for this particular rule. This is just skirmish. So like Hero Escape is just, you know, pure skirmish. This is as close to it as you're going to get in it, which probably makes for shorter games in this, which is still fun though. Okay, boss raid rules. When playing the boss raid, there are a few unique rules and win conditions. Objective, so win conditions. Objective, defeat the lost. Strategy, push fear through multiple phases by first destroying its tentacles, then depleting its health in each phase. So yeah, boss raid, you're going after the sentience basically. Victory, if at least one survivor is alive after defeating fear, then the player wins. Lost cheap shots. Disengaging from the lost will trigger cheap shot on player units. The lost do not roll for this cheap shots. They are automatically successful. Oh, wow. Ooh, ouch. That hurts. Sentience phases. Yeah, phases. Fear has multiple phases it will move through as players deal damage. Each phase has a setup card to spawn monsters and mobs, followed by various other steps. This is the AI. This is like the monster AI. This is so cool. And I think boss raid you can do yourself too. You don't need to have other players. It could be you against a monster. I think that's correct, which makes it fun. So this is the beauty of TimeStrike. You could potentially become skilled with it, and you don't necessarily need to have another player with you on the board. You can learn this all yourself. Eventually, you probably want to have people you use, but it could just be you up against the boss and just have fun. Solo or co-op mode. Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I really like this because, I mean, personally, I'm isolated, me, myself, and I. Yes, a minimum of 2 characters need to be played. Oh, for this one? Okay. So boss raid, yes, minimum two characters, but okay, which one is solo mode? Which one is that? Is that skirmish? Is that boss battle royale, skirmish, or boss raid? Which one has a solo? Definitely not skirmish, because you would need, other people with you. I'll let them answer. Okay, but let me just go through sentience phases first. The boss raid is a solo crawl. Okay, so I was right. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm seeing what you're saying. The minimum of 2 characters needs to be played, so not players, characters. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, boss raid. Okay, so here we go. So what I just said before. There. Fear has multiple phases. It will move through as players deal damage. Each phase has a setup card to spawn monsters and mobs, followed by various other steps like awakening characters or drawing sentience action cards. I know I just read that. I was just reading through it again. Defeating the lost. Attack fear or its tentacles to inflict damage to fear. Once fear receives damage markers equal to or exceeding health, it is pushed to the next phase. Depleting the health of fear in its final phase will destroy it and defeat the lost. At the bottom of fear stat card is its health, which scales based upon the number of starting survivors in the void. As fear takes damage, place markers on this card to track its current health. Fear's tentacles. Okay. Okay, so so okay, this is one thing Anthony's saying. But the boss raid needs at least 2 characters. Okay, gotcha. To be played by the one player. You could try one, but I would be impressed if you could do it. Well, you know, a challenge. Why not? You know, but yeah, no, I'm saying sentience is, I know I've been up against these a couple times. Yeah, just having one character, that would be, I mean, 2 characters would be a challenge, really. But yeah, having just one going up against a sentience. But that's one of the things that I might end up doing for Tales of the Void anyway. So, you know, there's that. It's going to be fun animating that when eventually we get to that. Fear's tentacles. Fear will never spawn more than 5 tentacles, 2 beasts, or 1 brute at a time. So anytime a card has more spawns to be placed, but the limit is already met in the void, ignore those spawns. Okay, interesting. Unless you don't want to. Unless you just want to cover the board with everything and really, really mess yourself up if you're playing solo. Just saying, you know, challenges. Tips. For each tentacle alive, it increases Fear's lost defense stat by 1, so eliminate tentacles so you can attack Fear directly. Yeah, that's what I've noticed something with the tentacles, that you really need to go after those in order to get after Fear. So that's interesting. Monsters can build up over the phases if you don't tame or defeat them. And look at that artwork there, look at that. They be all fighting. Alright, so page 39. Okay, so we're coming to the end, and I'm still going to read through this because all these people need to be recognized. Although I'm not going to say most last names because I don't want to mess names up. But we got to give congratulations to everybody who's been involved in making this. Literally years in the making, for making the system, for making this particular game. A lot of work involved. So just, you know, applause for that, for them. And okay, so again, I'm not going to say last names, but for first names, and y'all can read through this and just recognize all the hard hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of hard work that all these people have done. Aiden, Alexandros, Allison, Andrew, Brian, Chad, Chris, Crine. I know I'm going to butcher names. I apologize if I do. Daniel, David, Divi, Eric, Isaiah, Jason, Jeremy, Joe, Joe Crazy, Jose, Josh, Kenzie. I think that's Ryan. Oh, okay. I see a little bit of a cut here in the text. I don't know if that's just my computer or what, but no. No, it's a K. Okay. Kyan. Gotcha. Lauren, Luke, Maximo, Patrick, Peter, Raul, Rotem, Siri, Thomas, William. I apologize if I butchered any names, but I recognize all of you. Congratulations, guys. You deserve all the recognition and all the success. It's Kyan. Yeah, I figured that out. Yeah, it's my eyes, and I am not worthy. Okay, thank you for embarking on this adventure with us. Your time, energy, and feedback have been invaluable for shaping this game into something truly special. Playtesting is no easy feat. It requires patience and a keen eye for detail and a passion for gaming. By diving into the mechanics, exploring strategies, and sharing your thoughts, you have helped us see our creation from fresh perspectives. Every suggestion, critique, and word of encouragement has pushed us to refine and perfect our game. You are the unsung heroes of Tabletop World. Your dedication and enthusiasm fuel the creativity of designers like us. Because of you, our game is not just a set of rules and components, but a rich, engaging experience that we hope will bring joy to many. Thank you for your incredible support and for being part of this journey. We couldn't have done it without you. With heartfelt gratitude, the Adventure Together team. So again, okay. Yay for all the playtesters. And then we got credits here. Again, credit to whose credit is due. Publisher, Adventure Together Games. Anthony, Nick, Salpy, Hamaro, Chris, Robin, writers, Hannah, Linus, Rebecca, engineer, Brian, artists, Adam, Daniel, Kasaba, Chris, Coldcastle Studios, Ferdinand, sculptors, Salo, Mitt, Benny, Chris, editors, Luke, Captain Stupendous, yes, Andrew, Amanda, yeah, okay, yeah, Loki, the Naturalist, okay, yes, editors, yeah, proofreaders, Alexandros, Patrick, manufacturer, Gameland Games. A heartfelt thank you to everyone who has contributed in the making of TimeStrike. Your dedication and passion inspired us daily. To those of you who supported the designers and fueled this team with your enthusiasm for our vision, we are forever grateful. Without you, this adventure could not exist. You are what has made this journey worthwhile. Adventure Together is an American tabletop technology and publishing company dedicated to fostering meaningful human connections. Our name reflects our core values and our commitment to bringing people together. We are a diverse community of gamers, storytellers, artists, writers, engineers, and dreamers united by a passion for creativity and curiosity, inviting you to embark on the most important journey you will ever take, the one that leads you home. Return to your roots, spend quality time with family and friends, and rediscover the joy of shared adventures. Join us and let's adventure together. And we got, I'm not going to read the reference page. Quick references, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't need to read this. But yeah, we got the reference pages here, and that is page 42, and we're done. Now I think that's a good finisher right there. And nearly made me cry, guys. Oh my goodness. So that is that, everybody. Should I give some final thoughts? I'll give some final thoughts. Okay, I'm just bring it back up here. That's a nice cover. That's a really nice cover. So, finished the rulebook. Yay! And hopefully I can edit this all to where I can keep that reading of the rulebook under 3 hours. We'll see. This might take some time to edit out and have it be its own video. We'll see how long it takes me to edit, because my editing time right now is very limited. But what can I say? So I've actually started playing the game myself and interacting with it. I'll say this, that it seemed like it's very well thought out. Any questions I had were addressed well, and that's the great thing. Again, link in the description below if you're watching this and you have any questions for Adventure Together team, whatever. Check out their Discord, check out their website, because if you're behind the times and don't want to access Discord, I'm sure you can send them an email, whatever. But they're always pretty open, open to communication, just to clarify things. But yeah, I'm really in love that there's little tidbits of story, even at the very beginning here, when we read this little bit of lore here. It King of Nothing at the very beginning. That was very inspiring. I am very excited where this goes. Again, this is literally a sandbox that it's all flat. It's waiting to be dived into and worked on. And so I'm looking forward to these next few months, to these next few years, seeing where this goes. And I just, I guess I want to give my my goodwill and best to Adventure Together team, to everybody who's involved in making of this. Yeah, congratulations, guys. Looking forward to see and and here's to the success of this and more entries into this universe, as well as what is going to be produced through the source system as well in the future. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm picking up what you're laying down, and I'm liking to see what is going to be created more in the future. But this is definitely a great start. Yeah, okay, and Anthony's saying, thank you, glad to have you along for the adventure. Yes. And okay, I'm going to sign off in a second, because that's basically all I want to do. I will say this, no, thank you, Chris. No, thank you, guys. I'm happy for the opportunity to, this is the least I can do. It's literally the least I can do at the moment, because life is really busy at the moment. But future plans, I know, like, we're going to be eventually consistently doing live streams on this channel every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. And then my other YouTube channel, Tales of Valhalla, which focuses on HeroScape, is going to be every Sunday. And I've been doing these live streams every Wednesday for these past 3 weeks, or this Wednesday and the last 2 Wednesdays. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it next Wednesday or the Wednesday after, because there's still time before everything is released. Eventually, I'm going to be running out of material. But I do know one thing. If it's not next Wednesday, it will be maybe the next Wednesday's over. Like, it might be a week or two. But eventually, we have another rule book to read through, which is the Source Golf Rulebook. And that might take a stream or two to read through that. So I do want to do that. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, right now, again, the Tales of the Void YouTube channel is just getting started. I'm just trying to get this all figured out. But eventually, I mean, I'll make announcements through like my Tales of Valhalla YouTube channel on my Discord channel. So check out those links in the description below for the Tales of Valhalla, Tales of the Void Discord, and sign up, and I'll just notify y'all when we'll be doing a stream. But it won't be too long. If it's not next Wednesday, it'll be like the Wednesday or the Wednesday after that sometime. And we'll start reading through the Source Golf Rulebook, which I really want to read through. That's I was actually like, when I was like debating, okay, which one do I read first? I'm like, I really wanted to do the Source Golf, but I thought, no, TimeStrike is kind of like the main the main gig for this, so I had to do that one first. But I think the one I'm looking forward to the most is Source Golf, so we're definitely going to be doing that in the next few weeks. So with that, there's that to look forward to. November isn't that far away, and November is when we're going to be getting stuff. That's when product will finally be coming out here, as far as we know, right, guys? No changes in that. As far as you know, product will be coming out in November. Inquiring minds probably want to know. I don't know if you can confirm or deny that, or say maybe or not. So here, I'm going to take a drink real quick. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be around November that we're going to be starting getting product, which will be nice. I keep on telling my son too. It's like, because he builds this stuff, and I tell him, like, I'm like, just wait a few months and eventually there will be more. And he just looks at me like, you know. So he's looking forward to that too. But yeah, with that, I guess I will wrap things up. Okay, I think I said what I need to say. Like I said, the future plans for the stream, and eventually, like, I will get this TimeStrike Rulebook read in its own YouTube video format, all 3 streams compiled into one. It might take a little bit of editing, but I'm gonna edit that. I already have ready, because the first live stream we did on this channel was playing Source Golf via Tabletop Simulator, and I have videos that I can post on this YouTube channel individually of each round. I already have actually those ready to go. I just need to find time to upload them and put them up there. So look for that coming up hopefully in the next week or 2 or 3 or 4 or whenever I have time. So more content's coming. But with that, I thank all of you for watching. Thank all of you for listening. Anybody who's watching the replay, appreciate y'all. And I'll end this. I end my Tales of Halo channel a little bit differently, but for this channel, I'll always say this, and eventually I'll talk about where this came from. But goodbye, best of luck. And Chris says no changes. That's correct. November. Okay, November is the target. All right, good, confirmed. The greatest, confirmed for Chris. Okay, great. The greatest adventure is yet to come. We'll see y'all later. Have a good night now. Later. Bye. Bye.